Russia unleashes a massive assault on Ukraine's Dnipropetrovsk region, and the world is once again reminded of how fragile and volatile this ongoing war truly is. What happened in this latest escalation is not just about missiles and air raid sirens, but about the deeper story of how people are caught in the crossfire, how regional dynamics are shifting, and how the entire world is being forced to pay attention to a war that continues to spiral. The Dnipropetrovsk region, which lies in central eastern Ukraine, has been one of the key areas targeted by Russia because of its strategic location. It borders several critical industrial zones, it serves as a hub for energy infrastructure, and it has been a major supply route for Ukrainian forces defending territories further east. When Russia decides to unleash a large-scale attack here, it isn't random. It is calculated, aimed at weakening Ukraine's defenses, cutting off supply lines, and sending a message that Moscow still has the ability to strike deep inside Ukraine, no matter how much the international community tries to contain the conflict. Reports coming out describe waves of missile and drone strikes hitting multiple locations overnight. The Ukrainian air defense systems were activated almost immediately, with sirens blaring across major cities in the region. Civilians were forced into shelters, underground basements, and metro stations as explosions lit up the night sky. The attack targeted not only residential areas, but also energy facilities, warehouses, and critical infrastructure. This has become part of Russia's larger pattern of war, striking energy grids, power plants, and transport hubs to disrupt civilian life and pressure Kyiv into submission. But why Dnipropetrovsk now? To understand that, we need to look at the bigger map of the war. Ukraine has been steadily building momentum with counter-offensive operations, particularly around the eastern and southern fronts. Russia, facing pressure in places like Donetsk and Zaporizhzhia, may be trying to open new pressure points by escalating attacks on regions that aren't on the front line, but are crucial to Ukraine's logistical network. Hitting Dnipropetrovsk weakens Ukraine's ability to resupply its troops and also spreads fear deeper into the country, reminding civilians that nowhere is truly safe. The technical side of this assault is also worth noting. Russia used a mix of ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and Iranian-made Shahed drones. This hybrid approach has been one of Moscow's favored strategies in recent months. Drones are cheaper, harder to detect, and can be launched in swarms to overwhelm air defense. Once Ukrainian forces scramble to shoot down drones, the more destructive cruise and ballistic missiles follow, often slipping through and hitting their targets. The goal is psychological as much as it is tactical, keeping people awake at night, wearing down air defense crews, and depleting Ukraine's missile stockpiles. Ukraine, however, has been showing remarkable resilience. Despite the scale of this assault, officials claim that a majority of incoming threats were intercepted. Still, even if only a handful of missiles get through, the damage can be catastrophic. One strike can destroy a power substation that supplies electricity to thousands of homes, or take out a storage facility that holds vital food and medicine. And for civilians, even when a missile doesn't land nearby, the stress of constant alarms, the trauma of rushing children into shelters at 3 a.m., and the fear of not knowing what comes next leaves scars that no statistics can capture. This attack also carries political weight. Russia wants to send a signal not just to Ukraine, but to the West. By escalating attacks on a region like Dnipropetrovsk, Moscow is reminding NATO and European countries that their support for Kyiv comes at a cost. Russia is hoping that images of destruction, of blackouts, and of humanitarian crises will pressure Ukraine's allies to reconsider how long they can sustain military and financial aid. Meanwhile, Ukraine is using the same images to rally international sympathy, asking for more advanced air defense systems, more long-range missiles, and stronger sanctions on Moscow. The Muslim world has also been watching closely. Many Muslim-majority countries are deeply affected by this war, not only because of the humanitarian suffering, but also because of the economic ripple effects. Ukraine and Russia together supply a large portion of the world's wheat, sunflower oil, and fertilizers. When attacks like this disrupt exports, food prices rise across the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. Muslim families in places like Egypt, Pakistan, and Indonesia feel the impact in their kitchens and their markets. So while the bombs fall in Ukraine, the shockwaves extend far beyond its borders, hitting some of the world's most vulnerable populations, many of whom are Muslims. There's also the moral dimension. Many Muslims empathize deeply with the plight of civilians under bombardment because they themselves have witnessed similar tragedies in places like Palestine, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. The idea of ordinary people, women, children, and elders, being displaced, losing homes, and struggling for survival resonates strongly across the Muslim community. And it raises uncomfortable questions. Why is there selective attention from the global powers? Why is one war treated as a top priority while others are left unresolved? These questions matter, and they influence how people interpret every new headline about Ukraine. Coming back to the assault itself, analysts argue that this could be part of a larger Russian winter campaign. Historically, Moscow has increased strikes during colder months, knowing that hitting power grids and heating systems can cause maximum suffering. By depriving people of heat, water, and electricity in freezing conditions, Russia hopes to break morale. The Dnipropetrovsk attack could be an opening salvo in that strategy, testing defenses before intensifying in the weeks ahead. Ukraine, of course, is not defenseless. The country has received advanced Western systems like the Patriot and NASAMS, which have boosted interception rates. But the challenge is scale. No system can guarantee 100% protection, especially against saturation attacks. And every missile Ukraine fires to intercept is expensive, often costing far more than the drones Russia sends. This war has become a battle of attrition not only on the ground, but also in the skies. At the same time, Ukrainian officials are trying to maintain public morale. In the aftermath of the strikes, they highlight stories of bravery. Rescue workers pulling people from rubble, volunteers delivering food and blankets, neighbors helping one another. These stories are crucial in sustaining unity during such dark times. They also mirror the resilience we've seen in Muslim communities under bombardment elsewhere, where solidarity and compassion become weapons of survival when formal systems fail. Another layer to this story is how global powers will respond. The United States and European allies have repeatedly warned Russia against targeting civilian infrastructure, yet Moscow continues to do so. Will these fresh attacks push the West to deliver even more advanced weapons to Ukraine, or will fatigue start setting in? Already debates are growing in Western capitals about the costs of endless support, and Russia knows this. Every strike like this is also a move in the psychological chess game being played on the world stage. For Muslims and for anyone observing this war, one lesson stands out clearly. When great powers fight, it is always the common people who suffer. The attack on Dnipropetrovsk is not just a headline. It is a window into the broader tragedy of our times, where innocent families are paying the price for geopolitical rivalries. And it forces us to think about what justice means, what solidarity looks like, and how the global community should respond to aggression in one place while not ignoring it in another. The Dnipropetrovsk assault may fade from the headlines in a few days as the news cycle moves on. But for the people living there, its impact will last for months, if not years. Homes destroyed take years to rebuild. Trauma does not vanish overnight. And as winter approaches, the struggle to survive under bombardment will only intensify. This moment reminds us that while politicians and generals calculate strategies, it is ordinary people, mothers, children, workers, elders, who face the harsh reality of war. Their resilience, their prayers, and their hope for peace are what truly define the human story behind this conflict.